Hope and Faith with Heather Murdock.
Good morning and welcome back to Love, Hope, and Faith. I'm Heather Murdock and my guest today is Suki Kaur from Elk Grove.
Yes.
And you've been sharing with us your story. You were born in India and
Yes.
came to America at 13.
Yes.
And within a couple of months of being here, your father was killed in a car accident.
Yes.
So here you are with your brothers and your sister, okay, and your mom, living with your uncle. And there was some abuse happening there and
Yes.
some anger that your uncle had that took out on all of you.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so then you went into high school. So tell us from that point.
Yeah, high school wasn't good.
Yeah.
So yeah, my mom, it was a little bit too much for my mom. I
Were you rebellious?
I was.
Yeah.
I was rebellious, yes. And looking back at life, I was just a normal teenager. You know, but for her, I wasn't a normal teenager.
Yeah.
You know, from where she's from, you know,
Yeah,
girls are
because
reserved.
what's the culture like in India? I mean, for, you know, in terms of behavior and things like that.
Oh gosh, the girls are very reserved. They stay home. They don't, you know, I mean, they're very protected, very covered. It's completely different than American life, that's for sure.
Right.
Or American tradition or culture. So yeah, that was very difficult for my mom to handle, and so she decided that it's probably better that, you know, that we go to India.
Okay.
And so that was kind of, you know, I mean, I gave her a hard time. I'm not gonna lie about something that didn't happen. It did happen, but at that time, like I said, looking back at life, I don't think I meant to give her a hard time. It was just because of all that abuse and everything that I had been through. I think it was all of that was inside of me.
Absolutely. 100%.
And so she just told me, she said, we're just going to go visit. We're not, we're going to go visit. But everything was actually pre-planned for my wedding.
So you had an arranged
It was
marriage.
arranged, yes. It was arranged.
Is that common?
It was back then. Not so much now. You know,
Yeah.
nowadays kids are, you know, these young adults are choosing their own partner. They date, you know, so.
So this was an arranged marriage that your uncle had set up, right?
It wasn't him, but you know, they all had a lot to tell my mom. They all, you know, told my mom that it was probably better that she takes me back and take a control over before she gets out of control, or before she, you know, before she turns 18 and it's too late. Take a control over the situation.
Yeah.
So we went back, and I was still under the age. And we went back, and we were just there for a while, and a little while later, they started introducing me to men, guys, and not very many. It was just a couple. One of the guys that they introduced me to, he already had a divorce in his family, so they rejected him. So it wasn't that I had, you know, I didn't even have to say anything. I didn't say I like him or I don't like him. Like that, he was already rejected because he already had a divorce. Not he wasn't divorced, but he had a divorce in his family.
Wow.
Right, and then they introduced me to this other guy, and there was, you know, that chemistry. Immediately there was not chemistry, but just that attraction, I guess.
Right.
And I knew at that point that, you know, that this was going to happen, regardless of whether I say yes or no, or however I feel. It doesn't matter. And so I told my mom, I said, I think he's good. I think he's nice looking, and not that I was, allowed to date him. Just barely 18 years old.
Okay.
Yeah, I wasn't allowed to date him or anything like that, but I knew that I at that point I knew that I was getting married because my mom it was a lot of pressure. She told me my grandparents, they want to see me married. I'm the oldest daughter. You know, when we come back, who knows if they're going to be alive or not. You know, it's okay. So it was a lot that was being put on me again, and so I accepted. And I said, okay. And in my heart, I was thinking, I was already feeling guilty for how I made her feel. And so for me, I was like done hurting her.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, do whatever you need to do, whatever you think is best for me. So ended up getting engaged. Got engaged and everything was ready to go. The wedding is ready, everything is planned, and about 7 days right before the wedding, he started receiving these threatening letters from someone saying that they were going to kill him if he married me. So now all of a sudden he backs out.
Wow.
He's like, well, I'm sorry, I just don't want to die. I mean, I do want to marry you, but I just don't want to go through this. So when that happened, my family, they were devastated. It was, they were thinking, oh my God, this is shame. How are we going to face people? How are things going to happen? What are we going to do? So their mission was to find another man for that date that was already set.
In 7 days?
Yes.
Wow.
And they found my ex-husband.
So did you ever discover who was threatening the one you were supposed to marry?
Nope.
Wow.
To this day,
Wow.
I pray to God that He'll reveal or not. But I'm sure there was absolutely. But I'm sure there was a reason for that. I mean, the way my life unfolded. So I'm pretty sure there's
Yeah.
God created us. So it's just because I didn't know Him, that doesn't mean that He didn't know me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so when that happened, I ended up marrying my husband, my ex-husband, who is now, and I was just not happy. I was, at that point, it didn't really matter to me who it was going to be. I had to marry somebody. I had to marry someone that day because it was already set.
Yeah. You didn't want to bring, because I mean, in your mind, is it fair to say that you'd already brought shame onto your family by your behavior and things like that? And so you were just trying to.
Oh yeah, that was
not
already
bring any more shame.
Absolutely, that was already planted in me. That was already told. So you were responsible. You've already done enough.
Yeah, yeah.
You've done plenty.
Yeah.
Now you just do what we tell you to. Exactly.
Right.
And so I did, and at that point, something just died inside of me, and I said, "This is not what I want."
Yeah.
He's not what I want. But I have to do this. So I married him. I stayed with him, had my sons. I have 3 beautiful sons from this marriage. And he was not a bad person.
Did you guys come back to America?
We did.
Okay.
We did. I came back, and then he came back after. It took him 2 years to come here after me. And so we, at that point was, just started, we built our life together. I know he was a good person and everything, but I just couldn't, for me, inside of me, I wasn't living that life. I feel like I was living a double life.
Yeah.
I was pretending to be somebody that I wasn't. I had created this beautiful picture for the world to see. I had, painted this pretty picture, and everybody was looking at this picture, and they're looking at perfect family, they're looking at a beautiful home with everything in it, but I was empty.
Oh, wow. That's so, I mean, even though people's circumstances may be different than what you're describing, but that feeling and the living a double life and the emptiness inside, that is so common.
Oh, yeah.
There are so many people who live like that. It's so sad.
Oh, yeah.
And we end up performing for love, performing the image, performing what the exterior looks like, but inside we're totally
dying. I was empty, and I wanted to die passionately. I mean, I didn't know who Jesus was. I never prayed to Jesus, but I knew that there was God. And I told him, and I said, I don't believe you are real, because if you were, I wouldn't have dealt with everything that I dealt with.
That goes back to what I said in the beginning, the things that happen to us in our life, we look at that and then we look at God's word and say, no, that I'm not perfect in God's eyes, because if I were, then why did he allow these things to happen to me?
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. And a lot, it was a lot. And so like I said, I started thinking, I even tried committing suicide a few times, and nothing was working for me. And but I was depressed, I was miserable, but I wasn't sharing that with anybody either.
Right.
And during that time, I was working, and I had a friend, and she was Christian. And her and I, we used to go for a walk at lunchtime, and she would just share testimonies about Jesus with me. She never told me that, hey, you want to accept Jesus, or do you want to know him? She would just share stories with me as we would go for our walk and stuff. And I would just hear that. And we'd be out there walking and talking about Jesus, just listening to her. But at that time, I'm just in this storm, going through this storm of confusion, of depression, of just lost, you know, oh my God, how do I do this? I mean, this man is not a bad man. He's not beating me up. He's not abusing me. He's not out there, you know, doing anything, gambling, or he doesn't have any issues. How do I get away from this?
So it's like, you're like, what's wrong with me?
What's wrong with me?
What's wrong
So
with me?
I was the problem.
Yeah.
So therefore, I wanted to take my life.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't them, it wasn't him, it wasn't the children, it wasn't the family.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a perfect picture for the world to see. I was the problem.
Right, right.
And so therefore, if I take my own life, then I'm not hurting them, I'm hurting me. And I'm okay with that.
I see.
Because I was hurting anyways.
Yeah, yeah.
I
You
was
just wanted
hurting
to end the
regardless.
pain.
I just wanted to end that pain. I didn't want to live it. I just didn't, and I
It's amazing the lies that we believe, isn't it?
Yeah.
The lies from the enemy and the lies from just experiences. painful experiences.
Absolutely.
That becomes our reality and what we believe.
It does. It does. And I said to myself, and I said, well, if this is what marriage is supposed to feel like, then I don't want it. If this is what love's supposed to feel like, I don't want it. I don't want it. I just don't want it. It wasn't my choice. So I grew up with that bitterness, that anger that was already in me.
Yes.
You know, the resentment that was already in me. And those are strongholds.
Yes.
And the only one who
Yes.
can take those out is Jesus.
Is Jesus. Amen.
Nobody else. You can go see a doctor. You can go get a prescription. You know, nothing can heal you.
If we could fix ourselves, we would, right?
Exactly.
And I remember going through therapy for just the issues I've had in my life, and I wasn't a believer yet. And I got a lot of understanding. I gained a lot of wisdom and understanding about the triggers and the things that caused me to feel the way I did.
Yeah.
But I never gained healing.
Yeah.
Until I found the Lord.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So I think you can relate with
absolutely.
that. Yeah, absolutely.
And so during that time,
Actually, on that note, we're going to take a break.
Okay.
We'll be right back in 3 minutes. Stay tuned.
okay.